All right, today we're diving into the financial traps of the middle class. We're going to pull back the curtain on why so many of us feel like we're just running in place. So let's just jump right in. Does this sound familiar to you? You finally get that raise, you land a better job, your income is the highest it has ever been, but somehow, at the end of the month, you feel just as broke. It's this crazy, maddening paradox, right? And listen, if you're feeling that, trust me, you are not alone.
Yeah, this is what we can call the middle class paradox. So let's start exposing some of these invisible forces that are designed to keep you feeling financially stuck.
Okay, so the number one culprit here actually has a name. It's called lifestyle creep. And it is so subtle. Think about it. That raise hits your bank account, and then almost without you noticing, your spending just expands to match it. Maybe it's a slightly nicer apartment, you start eating out a bit more often, you buy the fancy groceries. Each little upgrade feels totally justified on its own. But when you add them all up, bam! Your lifestyle has quietly swallowed every single extra dollar you're making.
And that leads to the real punchline. This is the trap in its purest, simplest form. You're not actually getting ahead. You're just getting comfortable being broke at a higher salary. It's like you're running faster and faster on a financial treadmill, but you're not going anywhere. You're just staying in the exact same spot.
So what does this actually look like in the real world? Well, it usually shows up in the form of what you could call the upgrading treadmills. These are the traps that are fueled by that totally natural desire we all have to just constantly improve our lives.
Okay, a classic example, the car payment treadmill. You walk into the dealership and they dangle this beautiful new car in front of you with a lower monthly payment. I mean, that sounds like a total win, doesn't it? But here's the reality. All they've done is stretch your loan out from, say, 5 years to 7. And even worse, they've rolled all the debt from your old car right into the new one. So you actually end up owing way more for way longer.
When you really boil it down, it means you're just upgrading your debt. You're caught in this endless cycle where you never, ever actually own the thing. Every few years, you just hit the reset button and start all over, always chasing that lower monthly payment instead of what really matters, true ownership.
All right, the next treadmill is all about social pressure. You know the feeling. You're scrolling through Instagram and you see your friend's amazing vacation photos. Or your coworker comes in with a brand new watch. Maybe your neighbor just remodeled their entire kitchen, and suddenly your own life just feels a little less shiny. So what do? We spend money we don't have, usually on a credit card, to project this image for an audience that, let's be honest, is probably too busy worrying about their own image to even pay attention to yours.
And here's the brutal truth about that. The appearance of success, it costs you actual success. Every single dollar you pour into looking successful is a dollar you can't invest in actually becoming successful. You're literally trading your future wealth for a little bit of status today.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit and talk about another kind of trap. This one is all about the hidden cost of easy. It's about all those things that feel convenient and manageable in the moment, but end up costing you an absolute fortune down the line.
So, let's talk about the minimum payment illusion. It's a brilliant trap, really. You've got, say, a $3,000 balance, and the minimum payment is just $60. That feels totally doable, right? But here's the catch. Almost all of that $60 is just feeding the interest. It's not touching the actual balance. So your debt barely budges month after month. And get this, it can take you over 12 years to pay it off. And by then, you'll have paid almost $6,000 in total. Double. And look, this isn't just about big debts. Think about all the little death by 1,000 cuts conveniences. Food delivery, all those streaming subscriptions, the one-click buy now button. They seem like no big deal at the time, but when you add them all up, they can easily drain $4,000 or even more from your pocket every single year. That's money that just disappears.
See, that's the real trap here. You think you're buying comfort, but you're not. You're renting it. And when convenience becomes your default setting, you're essentially renting it forever at a massive compounding cost.
So to try and pay for all this, what do a lot of us do? We get a side hustle. But this can be its own trap. Because if you're just using that extra money to fuel your overspending, you haven't actually fixed anything. You're just treating the symptom, which is, I don't have enough cash, instead of curing the actual disease, which is your spending habits.
Okay, now for the really big ones. The decisions that don't just cost you a little bit of money, but can actually own you, turning into financial prisons that last for decades.
This one is maybe most dangerous when you're buying a house. The bank sends you that letter, right? Congratulations, you're approved for this massive loan. And it feels amazing. It feels like a green light. But you have to remember what the bank's job is. Their goal is to lend you as much money as they possibly can. They figured out the absolute maximum you could pay back without defaulting, which is a very different number from the maximum you should pay if you want to, still have a life.
Yeah, when you're stretched that thin, you end up becoming house poor. I mean, sure, you might own the home on paper, but in reality, the home owns you. Every single spare dollar gets sucked into the mortgage, the taxes, the repairs. There's nothing left for saving, for traveling, for emergencies. You wanted a home, but what you got was a beautiful financial prison.
And this might be the sneakiest, most deceptive trap of them all, the retirement delay. We all do it. We tell ourselves, okay, I'll start saving next year, for real. Or as soon as I get that next promotion. Or once things just settle down a little bit. There's always a reason to wait for that perfect time to start.
But the math on this is absolutely brutal. Let's say you invest just $200 a month. If you start at age 25, that can grow to over $500,000. But if you wait until you're 40 to start with that same $200, you'll end up with less than half of that. Why? Compound interest. Your single greatest financial asset is time, and every single year you put it off, you're losing potential growth that you can never, ever get back. So after hearing about all of these traps, you're probably wondering, is there any way out? And the answer is yes. It really all boils down to one simple but incredibly powerful idea that can change this whole equation.
Here it is. Freedom only exists in the gap between what you earn and what you spend. It's not about how big your paycheck is, it's about how much space you can create between your income and your expenses. That gap, that's everything. That's where wealth is built.
And now, think back through everything we've talked about. Lifestyle creep, the car payment treadmill, keeping up with the Joneses, the hidden cost of convenience. Every single one of those traps is designed to do one thing and one thing only, to close that gap, to shrink it down to zero so you never, ever get ahead.
So we'll leave you with this final question, because just being aware of these things is the absolute first step to breaking free. So be honest with yourself for a second. Looking back at all these traps, which of them have you accidentally set for yourself?